Hello, I am Reverend Irene Smith, and I'd like to welcome you to Generationally Speaking. Here at the table, we come and we discuss life issues, no matter what they might be. As we sit at the table with each generation, we all learn, we all grow, we all are inspired.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Generationally Speaking.
Hello everyone, my name is Jason. I am here to give you just a small breakdown on sports that we plan on bringing here at Generationally Speaking Television. I will be the person that runs down everything from the NFL, the NBA, F1 racing, NHL, MLB, Premier League soccer, and all the other things in sports that we all like to see. Today I'm going to start off with the Super Bowl matchup. Some of you know the Super Bowl matchup this year will be the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. But what you don't know is how did these teams become who they are? Let's start with Philadelphia. It's all the GM. General managers in football are the behind-the-scene geniuses. Always remember that. Some of you Commander fans might know of a guy named Adam Peters. Adam Peters worked with my 49ers back when we were doing winning. If you guys know or been watching this year, we haven't been winning that much. It's kind of coincidental, but we'll talk about that later on. So the general manager position is essential. So when you look at Philadelphia and you look at everything of how their roster construction is, from Howie Roseman, from the offensive line, from the defensive line, Howie Roseman, their general manager, has started this team to build with a philosophy of you build within the trenches. And if you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, that's exactly how they're built. They built their line through the defense, through the defensive line, through the offensive line. And if you ask me, if you're going to put together any future championship team, that's the way to go. You gotta build the interior of your offensive line and the interior of your defensive line. So Howie Roseman gets a thumbs up from Jason from putting that offensive team juggernaut together. And if you look at everything else with how Howie Roseman has gotten to this point, Howie Roseman was around when Andy Reid was still the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. Now this is kind of poetry because, as we all know, Andy Reid now coaches the Kansas City Chiefs. But when Andy Reid was first starting out back in my day when I was still young, Andy Reid was the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, and there was a young Howie Roseman as his general manager. And this is how things come full circle with how we are right now. And then you have the Kansas City Chiefs. And ladies and gentlemen, there is no secret sauce to the Kansas City Chiefs. It's how some people would say and how I like to say, draft Jordan. Or as we say, you look around and you find the best quarterback ever. This is not an understatement. I am a San Francisco 49er fan. I have seen the greatest of times and the worst of times all in at this man's hands. Patrick Mahomes is the most dangerous, winningest, never say die quarterback I have probably seen in my life. And that includes a life that saw Joe Montana, Steve Young, Michael Vick, all the other greats, the Peyton Mannings, even Tom Brady. Fun fact, Patrick Mahomes is on a pace to not only shatter Brady's record, but if it wasn't for Brady beating Patrick Mahomes, he would have been on pace to he would have put the bar to a place where it wasn't going to be caught again. Patrick Mahomes is the unmovable object. And when you look at the breakdown of their teams, they have Patrick Mahomes and you have Chris Jones, and you have Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is the most underrated tight end we've probably seen ever. Because, why is he underrated? Travis Kelce was able to stay low-key when Rob Gronkowski was running the league with Tom Brady. Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski created a duo that it kind of pushed Mr. Travis Kelce to the side. But now you have someone like Patrick Mahomes who's able to bring out everything that you need in your tight end. And this is why these two teams are so dangerous. Patrick Mahomes makes everything go. He is the conductor of the orchestra. And he has one of the best violin players in the game, which is his tight end. We'll call him Travis Kelce. And the underrated aspect of the Kansas City Chiefs is their defense, led by Chris Jones. Chris Jones is a massive human being in the middle. He does not move. You do not move him, he moves you. He is one of the underrated defensive tackles forces in our league. And it's funny I'm saying about defensive tackles because the Eagles also have a young, up-and-coming defensive tackle with Jalen Carter. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know who Jalen Carter is, please YouTube this guy. He is a force, and he's young. So this is all what goes back to, how do you want your franchise built? Me, I want a GM who wants to put the team together through the defense and offensive lines. You have to have a pass rush. You have to have somebody to protect the quarterback. Now, a lot of people say, well, can Jalen Hurts beat Patrick Mahomes? Good question. Quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts cannot beat Patrick Mahomes if the rosters are even. It won't happen. If I gave Patrick Mahomes the same roster that Jalen Hurts has, Jalen Hurts wouldn't stand a chance against Patrick Mahomes. But when you have a Patrick Mahomes, what happens? You have to pay Patrick Mahomes. And if you know anything about the NFL salary cap, you start understanding that when you have a franchise quarterback, that franchise quarterback starts to take 30 to 40% of your NFL cap through the salary cap. So you don't have premier money anymore to spend on the best receivers, to spend on the best free agents you can find. You have to really maximize the draft and really hit on 4th round, 3rd round, 5th round picks in order to keep a decent roster under a quarterback that we consider a franchise quarterback who's going to be making 40% of your team's salary. So if that's going to be that kind of quarterback, as a general manager, that's the structure you're going to have to take. What you need to do when you get a Jalen Hurts, and I put another guy that's like Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, Tua Tagovailoa, Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, all these kind of quarterbacks require a complete roster. You have to create a roster that protects them from themselves. You cannot expect Dak Prescott to take you to the Super Bowl. You cannot expect Brock Purdy to take you to the Super Bowl. But if you put enough pieces around them, if you put Pro Bowlers around them, if you give them offensive lines, if you give them Pro Bowl receivers, if you give them a defense that pretty much tells the other team you're going to turn the ball over, you're going to be kicking a lot of punts, you're going to be giving our quarterback a lot of chances, then you can set up a team with those kind of quarterbacks to win in the future. But to get a Josh Allen, to get a Patrick Mahomes, to get a Joe Burrow, to get a Lamar Jackson, those guys are rare air. And when you are lucky enough to be drafting, those are the kind of quarterbacks you want to look for first, or at least have an idea of those are the kind of quarterbacks that this draft is going to offer. And we'll talk about on the later shows about what is this draft going to offer? Because this draft is very, very interesting in a lot of different positions, but I don't think it's going to offer a franchise quarterback. I believe this draft will offer a lot of us a lot of defensive talent, defensive line, a lot of cornerbacks, and you'll see a decent amount of tight ends and wide receivers this year in the draft. Also, keep your eye on running backs in this year's draft. Back to the Super Bowl matchup. I see this game being very, very close in the beginning. I think both of these teams are going to fill each other out for at least a quarter. I would not be surprised if a lot of your bets are going to look scary for the first 2 quarters. So if you know anything about betting, you might want to stick to the unders with all your bets. I believe at the second quarter, one of these teams are either going to make a mistake or one of these teams are going to do something that the other team didn't expect. And it all comes down to, can Andy Reid fool Nick Sirianni and that number 1 defense, which is coached by Vic Fangio? Can he fool them? Andy Reid, veteran coach, probably a Hall of Famer, more likely a Hall of Famer. He's going against Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio was a defensive coordinator for the 49ers back when Jim Harbaugh was the head coach. Now he's traveled, had a stop, I believe, in Miami. Now he's with Philly. They have the number 1 defense. This matchup between Andy Reid and Vic Fangio gonna be interesting. Vic Fangio is a very, very, very respected defensive coordinator. He's been in the league for a very long time. He's got as much stripes as Andy Reid, and he's going to really, really try to fool Andy Reid. And he has a lot of the defensive parts to actually beat that offense. It all, to me, is going to come down to the 2 guys that will have the ball in their hands the most, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes. And the question for Jalen Hurts is, can Jalen make the play where he says, I'm carrying the team on my back? Can he make the throw? Does Jalen Hurts have the Eli throw in him? If he has the Eli throw, and what do I call the Eli throw? The Eli throw is the David Tyree throw. Can you make a play out of no play and get a first down? Go back to Buffalo. Buffalo and Kansas City game, what happened? They needed a first down and they got stopped. Beating Patrick Mahomes is understanding keeping him off the field. There is no comeback. You cannot think about tomorrow. Take it from a 49er fan. If you want to beat this guy, there is no tomorrow. So if the Eagles go into that game with the mentality of there is no tomorrow, we are going to let everything fly. I believe everything has to be on the game plan for the Eagles. You might think about a punt fake. You might want to think about how many times you're going to go for it on 4th down. You might want to think about it, how many times do we have trick plays lined up. You should be ready to pretty much give this Kansas City team, who is going for a 3-peat. This is history, ladies and gentlemen. History. This is going to be a 3-peat. We've never seen anything like this. Not Tom Brady's Patriots, not Bill Walsh and his 49ers, not Pittsburgh, nobody. 3-peat. So this will be history. If Patrick Mahomes, because this is what his legacy will be, not only will he have beaten the up-and-coming offensive coordinator which is Kyle Shanahan, he beat him twice. He beat the Eagles once. Now he's trying to beat the Eagles with the number 1 defense and probably one of the best coordinators ever in the NFL, as in Vic Fangio. So this is his legacy to be actually cemented as the greatest quarterback of all time. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Mahomes is in GOAT territory, and it's early. He's 29 years old. I want everyone to think about that. He's 29. He has 4 titles. He's going after his 5th. He has 2 titles against us, 1 against, he has 3 titles. He's going after number 4. Brady wasn't nowhere near where he was at 29 years old. Brady, I think, had 3, or 2, I think probably 3 at the time. This, ladies and gentlemen, is historic. We've never seen anything like it. We probably never will. And I do think this game will come down to a play by Chris Jones. Where does it happen? Does it happen in the red zone? Is it a Philly push that is stopped? Because we all know this game will be a Philly push. There will be several Philly pushes for a first down to keep drives going. Can the Kansas City defense stop them? I do believe Chris Jones is the man to stop the Philly push. I just don't know how many times he can stop that, the Philly shove from getting a yard, a half an inch. It wears on you. That play wears on you the more and more they are able to line up in that formation. And that is another thing about this game. Can Philadelphia make the game about short yardage? Throughout the game, you need to see Philadelphia being able to move the ball forward 3 yards, 4 yards. Now, a secret, well, it's not even a secret anymore. The trick for Philly is they probably have the best running back ever. Like, I know people will say there are others out there. You know, we have Barry, we have Emmett, you have, a lot of great running backs who have played in the NFL. But what Saquon does is something between a mix of Barry and, other great running backs, Reggie Bush. You put all these like a mix of everything. And I do believe if Philadelphia can make their offense go forward and not take penalties, not holding calls, you don't need any false starts, and you don't want any kind of things that are personal fouls, things that'll draw you back 15, 10, 5 yards. If Jalen Hurts can keep out of the penalties and beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the penalty stats, that's his best chance. He cannot, that offense, himself, Jalen, cannot afford the penalties. You don't want to make Jalen Hurts become a thrower. What you want to do is have the offense move forward and keep the defense confused at any given time we could run this ball. And that helps not only Jalen, but it helps Saquon, because now you have a quarterback who's shown that he can get out of the pocket and he can run. You have a running back who's shown he can make plays from scrimmage. And that, to me, makes them a very worthy opponent for Kansas City. Now, Kansas City does have a good running back. I think people will kind of forget this name, and I'll kind of bring him up for you guys. But there was a guy named Kareem Hunt that played back in the day, played with this team back when he was a young guy with Kansas City, and he ended up leaving for free agency. He left for the Browns, and then, it's the Cleveland Browns. Things didn't work out. He ended up finding his way back to Kansas City. I do think Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco will be key to keeping Philadelphia's defense honest. If Kansas City is able to run the ball against this defense, that will be something that not a lot of running backs has been able to do this year. If you watch the Washington game against Philadelphia, I believe one of the things that the Commanders had a problem with that game is they could not run the ball against Philly. If you're going to beat Philly, you have to run the ball against them. It is tough. Jalen Carter is a load in the middle. Jordan Davis is a load in the middle. Those are some big dudes. So it's going to be tough to run the ball against that Philadelphia front. But if Kansas City can eke out 3 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, 4 yards, they can keep that defense honest and put their offense in opportunity where they can create a big play with James Worthy over the top. They can go downfield and hit Travis Kelce over the middle. So that kind of game plan, if I was Kansas City, is something that I can see Andy Reid putting together to actually keep Philly honest. Because if you're going to beat Vic Fangio and that high-powered defense, you're going to need to keep them honest. And the way you do it is to run the ball. You have to run the ball. You have to be able to keep Jalen Hurts off the field as much as possible. And when he is on the field, your defense against Jalen Hurts has to make him a quarterback. You have to take Saquon out of the game, and you have to force Jalen Hurts to beat you from the pocket. If Jalen Hurts is made to play within the pocket, that's his weak point. But if he is able to scramble out of the pocket, if he's able to find time and look down the field and shoot down the field with a throw, then it's going to be a long day for Kansas City. I do think Kansas City defensive backs are good. They have Snead still. I think they have Snead. I don't know. They might not have Snead. Do they have Snead still? Oh, okay. So they still have Snead. And that secondary is very, 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 very veteran. They have a lot of veterans on that secondary. So they're not who they were last year, but they're not slouches at all. I believe Justin Reed is still out there. And so you have some guys out there that can still bring what they need to bring to win that game. So I'm looking for a good game. I believe all the scoring will be done in the second half. I believe there will be one first half score as far as a touchdown. I believe there will be a couple of field goals in the first half, but I believe they'll be filling each other out throughout the first and second quarter. I believe the third quarter is where we'll see our fireworks. And honestly, this is one of those games. If you look at Kansas City, they went to overtime last year in the Super Bowl with the San Francisco 49ers. Don't be shocked if they don't go to overtime again this year with the Philadelphia Eagles. And if Philadelphia can take them into overtime, I do believe that this Philadelphia team has a little bit more than my San Francisco 49ers on defense, that they might be able to beat them and win against Kansas City in overtime if they can get that game in overtime. But I do believe that you're going to have to neutralize someone that is literally impossible to neutralize, and that's Patrick Mahomes. And I've called him Jordan earlier, so let me explain why he's Jordan to me. When I was young, I used to cherish Jordan. Michael Jordan could do everything. He could rebound, he could score, he could pass, he did everything. And it's not just that he did everything, it almost like he did everything when it needed to be done, where it needed to be done. That's what Patrick Mahomes is at quarterback. You gotta you gotta throw stats away. You gotta throw stats away with this guy. This guy, when this team needs him to throw it, he can throw it. When they need him to run it, he can run it. This guy is the total package. He's the total deal. This dude is what every defensive coordinator has feared since they have actually became defensive coordinators. He's the perfect weapon. He's the perfect hybrid. There is nothing he can't do. And the guy has one of the best teachers in NFL history as his head coach. Andy Reid knows offense. He's been around Hall of Famers, Brett Favre. He's been around guys from Donovan McNabb, Michael Vick. He's been around the 49er organization when Bill Walsh was a head coach. So this guy has instilled all this offensive knowledge into Patrick Mahomes, how they move and deceive the receivers. If you look at their plays and how they go, they set certain receivers in motion. It is all just a setup. The motion already lets Patrick Mahomes know what this defense is trying to do, who they're trying to take away, where he needs to go with the ball. it is something that it frustrates me, but it makes me actually smile because it's incredible to watch, but it's frustrating to watch and know that you have to stop this thing. And I do think that Philly has enough pieces to keep that corralled. But that's what it takes to beat a quarterback. And I was talking to a friend about this, about when you have a questionable quarterback saying that, say, okay, this quarterback, we don't know if he's going to be a Hall of Famer or not, maybe not, going against a undisputed Hall of Famer. If you look at the stats about that, every time the Hall of Famer usually wins in the Super Bowl. The Hall of Fame quarterback usually beats the guy that's questionable that we don't know that's going. Now, there have been a couple of Eli Manning. He's the guy. He's the guy that always tests that theory. But is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer? See, some of y'all don't even know if Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer. Some of y'all are right now debating right now with someone that you're looking at this with, and you're probably saying, well, is Eli Manning? My opinion, no. But I understand why you would say he is. I mean, just think about it. His best 2 years came at beating the best team of all time and beating another guy, the guy that you don't like, again, Tom Brady. So, yeah, he got 2 Super Bowl rings. So it's one of those things. But I do think that with Tom Brady and Eli Manning, I do think that shows us that though that they might be separated in talent, a throw, a play can change everything. So it does go back to, as we circle back around, does Jalen Hurts have the play in him? Does he have the play? We know the play. David Tyree, Eli Manning, breaks through the center, up, can't find anyone, heave the ball up, off the helmet, history. That ended the Patriots 17-0, 18-0 quest, or 17-0. That was the end of it. So the question is, does Jalen Hurts have the play in him? I think he does, but at times this year, he's shown me he might not, and I get worried. So this game will come down to the fourth quarter. It could go into overtime. I think going into overtime would be best for Philadelphia. But if Philadelphia can end the game differently than the way the 49ers end the game, within you take the ball and you go for it on the fourth downs, once you're close to the red zone, I do think this Philadelphia team will do that. I do think Nick Sirianni is the kind of coach that will go for it to win the game. I don't think he is as conservative as Kyle Shanahan is when it comes to fourth downs and trying to win the game. That's another thing I like about the Commanders head coach is you have to be able to weigh risk reward. Sometimes you're going to have to risk something. Winning requires risk at times. And if you look at the Commanders, another reason why they were better this year, they went for it a lot on fourth down. You got to believe in your team. What's the point of having all those summer days, mini camps, training camps, preseasons, regular season games? You get to this point in the postseason and you're being conservative. What's the point? These football players have a shelf life, okay? All of them. They all have a shelf life. They are playing the world's deadliest game, okay? This game wears on all their bodies. There is a shelf life compared to, makes every other professional sport look small. And their shelf lives for the NFL isn't very long. So when people say, guys are tanking and guys are, they're not giving, sometimes, but a lot of guys that you think are tanking, they're not tanking. They're just not that good. They're trying. Their skill level is just not good. there's no athlete I can tell you right now that just said, you know what, I'm going to go give it 50%. No. Every athlete, the great ones, the bad ones, they all believe they're giving 100%. It's just different spectrums of 100%. So we have to remember this when we're dealing with these professional teams and dealing with the NFL players, and just circling back again to the game, Super Bowl game. This will be the last game of the 2025 NFL schedule. We'll be going to 2026. I wonder what rule changes will be next for the NFL. It will be interesting to see what goes on in the college football world. If any of you know anything about college football, the NIL system is very, very, very chaotic. You might not like it. I love it. It's an open market. Who doesn't like an open market? The NIL is an open market. Now, I do think it needs to be tweaked. I do think they need to tweak it, and they need to be some more contractual obligations, but I do think that's the way to go. Thank you all for...
Jennifer says that the defense is going to determine the Super Bowl.
Jennifer, defense will definitely determine the Super Bowl. And if you don't know that voice, that is my lovely mother, who will be my beautiful producer. Just to give you guys a heads up, I watch a show called Dan Le Batard with Stugotz. And Dan Le Batard was on ESPN. Some of you know, some of you might not. And he hosted a show called Highly Questionable. And the reason why he loved this show so much is because every day he said, I got to come in and work with my dad. That was the highlight of his life. He's like, yeah, I get to talk sports with my dad. And that's what I get to do. It's so much fun. I get to sit down and talk sports with my mom right there. So that is also, I see why he likes it so much. But yes, Jennifer, defense is going to be instrumental in winning this game. It's going to come down to, on Kansas City, can we keep them out of short yardage situations? They don't want to see the tush push. Kansas City does not want to keep seeing the tush push over and over. It wears on your defense. It's going to wear on Kansas City. So if they keep getting, Philadelphia keeps getting in short yardage situations where they can bring out the tush push to keep a drive alive, then yeah, they have a great chance to win it. Remember, Buffalo tried the tush push. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do the tush push. And when Josh Allen got stood up, that was the end of that drive. So if Philadelphia can keep drives alive, keep their offense short yardage, keep their offense moving, don't go backwards, lean on Saquon. I would tell Nick Sirianni, do not put so much emphasis on the quarterback having to win the game. Lean on Saquon. He is one of the, if not the best back in the game right now. Lean on your running game. They also have Gainwell, who can also pick up the slack. They have a running attack. They need to lean on it. And for Kansas City, it's really simple. Your defense, can we get takeaways? Can we prove to Jalen Hurts and to everyone else, this guy's not really a good quarterback? We need to make him a thrower. We need to get their offense into situations where they can't go to Saquon no more. We know they're in a passing situation. If Kansas City can keep the Philadelphia Eagles in passing situations, you will then see the Kansas City team win their third Super Bowl title. Because the more you make Jalen Hurts a quarterback and you put the ball in his hands and you take Saquon Barkley out of the game, the more Kansas City has a chance for turnovers or just for 3 and outs and get the ball back. Remember, you, Philadelphia, do not want to put the ball into Patrick Mahomes' hands at any given time. So the more you keep the ball out of his hands, the better for everyone, including the Philadelphia team and fan base. But if you allow Patrick Mahomes any opportunity, any life, any air, anything, any light, he's going to kick the door down. He is one of one right now. I don't know if NFL history will do him right when it's all said and done, because I don't even know who we can compare him to right now. He's Michael Jordan. He's that good. So I hope you all have a great Super Bowl party, event, watch. I hope everyone has picked their team or whatever side they're going for. I did see a lot of people saying meteor strike. Like, wow, this is not bad. Let's not do the meteor strike, everyone. How about this? Let's just hope for a tie. I'm hoping for a tie. That's my goal. As a 49er fan, I'm reasonable enough to not put the world in peril, but to just say, a tie will do. I will do. It will frustrate everyone. People will be unsatisfied. There will be people calling radio stations, complaining because what is this? It's a tie. But I'm going for the tie. And I do think this 49, I think this Super Bowl team, this Super Bowl event will be something special to actually watch. And I do think that this game is going to be a defensive game. I do believe that Patrick Mahomes will have a Patrick Mahomes minute. The question is, does Jalen Hurts have the Eli moment? Can he have an Eli moment? Because if Eli can slay Tom Brady, I believe Jalen Hurts can slay Patrick Mahomes. But he has to have a moment. He has to have that throw. He has to have that throw on the sideline, that throw off the helmet. If he can have that moment, keep a drive alive, keep the ball in Philadelphia's possession, Philadelphia will win the game. I do want to see what happens for a lot of the bets, the halftime show. Kendrick Lamar, what do you think he's bringing out? I've been wondering this for a while. Who is Kendrick Lamar bringing out?
Beyonce.
You think Beyonce?
She brought him out.
That's a good one. I do think that would be a good one. How many times does he say not like us? Like, does he do not like us?
Oh, he definitely got to do not like us.
Because I was thinking, like, if he does not like us, doesn't that cement the battle, like, over? Like, that's, like...
They already shot down a lawsuit, so...
Yeah, and that...
You got nothing yet.
I mean, listen, Kendrick Lamar is dope. That brother is really, he's dope. I would love to know what Drake will be doing during the halftime show. Does Drake watch the Super Bowl? He's better. He's a better. So I know he's going to watch. He's going to say he's not. Drake, you're going to watch. We all know you're going to watch because you bet. You like to post your bets. You're going to watch. The question is, do you say anything during the halftime show? Do you watch the halftime show? Does Drake take a day, take a break to go do something else? I think he's going to watch, though. I do believe Drake will watch the halftime show. And after the game, who's the Super Bowl MVP? I mean, it's got to be Mahomes, right? Doesn't it have to be Mahomes? Like, if Kansas City wins, he can have 3 interceptions, 2 yards, and, like, a bunch of negative outcomes. If Kansas City wins, they're making him the MVP of the Super Bowl.
Definitely.
That's 3 straight. 3 straight Super Bowl MVPs. Patrick Mahomes. Wow. And if Philadelphia wins the Super Bowl MVP, Jalen Carter. You heard it here. That's my Super Bowl MVP for the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Carter will do something. He will throw. I want you all to look at Jalen Carter highlights for 2024 or 2023 for Philadelphia. He's throwing men, massive men, aside like nothing, like they're school kids. Jalen Carter might be the new Aaron Donald for the NFC. I want to see how he does some things that worries me with his mental, but when he's focused, he is as dominant as Aaron Donald was for the Rams. And I do think if Jalen Carter stays focused the way he is, he could be a Super Bowl MVP for this Philadelphia team if they were to pull what some might say the upset. But I do think that Philadelphia is they should be more treated better than underdogs. I wouldn't say they're underdogs. I think they're a lot more better than what people give them credit to be. They're a lot more set up the way you want them to set up. And to the other teams around the league, I guess I just say this, Commander fans, you did good. You did good. I used to say to my Commander fan brother all the time that, as a 49er fan, don't talk to me till you go to the NFC Championship and win a game in the playoffs. And yeah, they kind of took care of that. So we're back to square one again. So hopefully we can see them in the next season, and we'll see what's what. I want to thank all you all for viewing the show. I promise you we're going to put some formats together for the show. I'm going to have my producers talk and give me right on the field. I want them to interrupt me when I'm wrong. They're laughing. This show is going to be different. We're going to be different. We're going to feel different. It's going to feel laid back. We're going to talk sports. We might get into some other topics sometime in the future, but this show is going to be different. And we want to thank Generationally Speaking for having us, giving us the opportunity, and we look forward to seeing all of you in the future. Thank you. My name is Jason Ford. That's sports.